I'm kind of cursed with Indy. Gonna try to break that curse this year.
Well, you have a lot of adversities when you race, and sometimes the best days that we have at the racetrack are days that things go wrong.
Bill went to Indianapolis, and he broke the car.
I was ready to just be done. You know, we're here, we tried, the car broke.
And me and my dad drove back from Indianapolis to Chicago to get a different engine.
Going from Indianapolis back to Illinois to pick up a motor to put in a car so that you can race the following day was quite an accomplishment, and was something I'll never forget.
I remember talking to my brother at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I think he just got the motor and he was on his way back. And he told me, you go back to the hotel and go to sleep because you have to race tomorrow. We'll finish it from there. And I remember him calling me again at 6:30 in the morning saying, okay, the motor's in, it started, we're ready to go.
We ended up getting crew chief of the year in 2007 for that.
I had a lot of pressure that day because I was just like, they just made a long drive. They've been up for over 24 hours, and now it's like I really had to win this race.
Bill made another round, so it made it all worthwhile.
It was good that Bill was able to make the first round and not get knocked out, but had we gone all the way there, put the motor in, and then he would have lost the first round, it wouldn't have been as good. But it shows that we were dedicated and we wanted to give him a shot, give him a loaded gun. Don't just, you definitely, it definitely was rewarding.
To 391 miles an hour, Michael goes 16-17. And here comes Bruce Cassie. He goes on the way last week. On the national dragster side, Bob Chase.
First time I ever raced at a racetrack was with my cousin Eddie at Union Grove. I was 15 at the time, and he had a black 1980 Camaro. And he let me take it on the track, even though I wasn't able to drive. And I went faster than he did, which he wasn't real happy about that, but I was.
My first time actually drag racing was on my learner's permit, racing my brother John. My brother Bob had a 68 Camaro that he was teaching me how to drive.
I was teaching him how to drive stick, and at the time I had a 1968 Camaro, and I was just letting him drive around, teaching him how to drive stick, and we're taking it slow. Well, then my brother John pulled up next to us at a stoplight.
In his 70 Chevelle, and I remember my brother Bob telling me, if you lose, you're never going to drive this car again.
I made Bill race him, and the light turned green, and he took off, and I just put my hand on his leg and shoved it to the floor so he'd floor it, and we won.
So basically at 15 was my first time drag racing down Ogden.
Bob, I think the first car he ran was the 68 Firebird that we bought him when he was 15.
We had to do quite a bit of work to it before I was able to drive it.
We bought it for him. I think it was a $500 car, and we ended up taking the Pontiac motor out and put a small block Chevy in it, and he started racing that.
It was my first hot rod, my first car. I'll always have a special spot for that. The original Coco Nova was a car that my dad raced in the 70s. It was owned by a guy named Bobby Campagna.
And he was running a 66 Nova.
That was painted red with a white Coke stripe on it. And then in the Coca-Cola writing, it was called the Coca Nova.
I liked the Coca Nova when I raced it years ago, and when the kids became old enough to race, we decided to build another one.
My brother Bill drove it on the street for a while, and then me and my dad put a different engine in, and we started racing it at the racetrack again.
The Coca Nova was the race car that Bob raced in '99 or 2000. Super Chevy.
When we first started racing it, there was a lot of people that remembered the first one, and they were asking if it was the same car, but of course it wasn't. But it was mainly just to see how many people actually remembered the car.
The Coconova was needed chassis work, so it wasn't as safe to drive. So we took that car and we put it out of service and had a welder put a new chassis under it to make it safe. And then and that's where it sits right now. It's still just a rolling chassis now. And Coconova's sitting in the garage.
Beginning of the season, you get a little nervous, you get the adrenaline, but like right now, I don't have any nerves. I'm pretty calm, and I try and keep myself calm throughout the whole thing because you're more consistent when you're doing the same thing every time if you're calm and relaxed.
Everything happens off that line, so everything I do has got to be quick, and I have to try to make myself also go into like a competitive mode at that moment. And once I have all my stuff on, my neck brace, my helmet, everything's buckled up, then leave me alone. You know, then I'm in my zone and I just know somebody else is going to make sure the car is right, and now I just have to do my job and drive. My dad always makes sure he tries to find the sticky spot in the track, and then he lines us up in the water to where we'll stop our car to start our burnout.
Dad looks at everything. When we're staging the car, he's down on his knees looking underneath the car, making sure that there's nothing hanging or there's nothing leaking.
My dad, I remember the first time racing, I mean, he tightened me in so hard in the car I couldn't move. You know, I couldn't even like grab the steering wheel and steer if I had to steer. So yeah, I mean, having my dad there is always a big thing.
My mom played a big role in my whole life. She was very supportive of anything I did.
I guess that one of the hardest things with racing and having my mom die was I can't call my mom at the end of the day.
When she died, I didn't tell anybody I did it, but I took the trunk lids off both cars and had a in loving memory of Mom put on there.
I remember him telling me that I did something cool with the cars, you know. You got to come to the shop and see the cars. I wasn't really sure what it was. I mean, sometimes he does fancy things to the cars all the time, whether it be something, as I would say, stupid because it's all chrome and shiny or something, but he thinks it's the coolest thing in the world. But I went there and I saw that, and that was really cool.
The race we went to after my mom died, the racetrack did like a memorial service, and our whole family was there, and in memory of, they let me and Bill idle down the racetrack.
Basically, an idle down is you went up and you stage your cars, and you're not racing, but you're just putting down the track, you know, just in memory. And I remember it was funny because that's right when my brother put alcohol in my car, so I was running alcohol. So I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. I mean, the alcohol fumes were so bad inside the car. And it was just funny because for me to sit in the car that long, I mean, it was sweet. I mean, it was so many like different feelings because it was so sweet that they shut the track down and everything like that. And I remember me and my brother idling down the track, and I remember joking with him. I'm like, I don't know if I could sit in the car this long. You know, sitting there idling and having all this, the alcohol fumes of the fuel, like, cause I couldn't breathe. My eyes were like tearing, and it's hard to go down the track in that way. But no, it's real cool as the track did. And there again, I mean, that's the family that you have from a racetrack. Everybody cares about everybody there. It's not cutthroat, you know, win or lose, you know, or I'm gonna take you out. It's really everybody's family there.
The first race this year was actually the anniversary of the day she died. It was almost like she was with me because I went all the way to the final. And it was like I couldn't do anything wrong. I ended up losing in the final, but there's just something that made it seem like she was with me. She's the best person I knew.
When the transmission blew, you know, you had to go get another transmission so Bobby had a chance to go to Indy. Had we not gotten the transmission, Bob's chance to go to Indy would have been none.
When the first transmission blew up on Saturday night, we thought we were doing the right thing by going and putting a fresh transmission in the car for Sunday morning, because I knew I had to be competitive for Sunday, so I wanted to have a good transmission in the car so I wouldn't have any issues. When we came back out on Sunday morning, the transmission blew up on the very first pass.
I had to drive back to the shop and get the only spare transmission we had left on the shelf because we were going through them.
While he was gone, me and Bill took the other transmission out.
And I brought the transmission back and we got it back in for the next round.
When Bob went out after first round, he was pretty disappointed.
I was disappointed because I felt we put a lot of work and effort into trying to get the car back up to the line. And in the past, when we've done that, we've usually been successful. So to go through all that work and fail, it's not something we're really used to.
It's a tough class he's in, and he knows it. Just to be where he was in points with all the good racers, and it was a good year. Even though we had problems at the end, he had a great year.
When I found out that there was a chance for me to go, I was excited. I thought that's good. I mean, maybe something came of all that effort and work.
Well, that's not it's not the first time that Bob's had come in just under the qualifying guys for Indy, and you always hope that maybe a couple guys might drop out and you got that chance to go.
When I was waiting there in the tower, I was anxious. I wanted to know if I was eligible right there so I can start celebrating and have a good time. But good things come to those who wait.
I was just excited that we'd both be able to get to go. Doesn't seem like that's the first time we've ever got to go to Indy and race together.
Both of them qualifying for Indy that's very good. It was a good year.
Indianapolis is the top 10 from all the racetracks in Division III.
And it's like the all-stars of your drag strip racing against the all-stars of their drag strip.
To qualify for Indy, it means that you're one of the better racers at the racetrack, and that's something I'm so passionate about is cars. So to be able to qualify, it feels good.
Well, for one, it's a good time. You made it.
Yeah, it's pretty rewarding because there's so many guys that are trying to compete for that spot to get to go to Indy, and Bob's made it to one time, Bill's multiple times.
When you race eighth mile compared to a quarter mile, there's less margin of error.
You got to cut a great light. Really pay attention to where the 8th mile marker is, which most of us don't. Most of the time, we're always looking at that quarter mile marker.
The guys that run 8th mile, their cars are set up for it. They know the 8th mile better than we do, so they have an advantage definitely going into the race on race day.
So I red lit in the first round. And it's one of them things where in my time runs, I was staying consistent on the light, but it was slower than I wanted it to be. I thought I was at a good spot on the tree when I left, and it's one of those things where you got to try hard, and sometimes it just goes quicker than you want.
When you're racing, everything is fractions of a second, and to be competitive in our classes, you got to be very, very competitive on the light. You got to hit a good light, and to red light now and then, that's just showing that you're going for it.
First round, I was probably a little hesitant to be real aggressive on the tree because all three of my time runs, I red lit. The last time I went to Indy, I red lit first round, so I didn't want that to happen again. So I held back a bit, but the race was so close. At the end, the margin of victory was .0023, which is probably by far one of the closest drag races I've ever been in.
Well, all you can say is you had a great year this year, and it was good that we went as far as we did. Next year, maybe we'll go a little bit farther. Maybe one of these years we're going to come out there to Indy and we'll win it.
If I had to sum up racing in one word, I'd say fun. We have cool cars to drive. I guess really I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to do it.
I love the cars. I love finding the problem. I love being in the car. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it feels. That's what racing is for me.